You're in Michigan right now. You're from Indiana. Is there another blind spot for Democrats in 2020, something that pundits in the bubble are missing?
Well, by definition, if it's a blind spot, we're not seeing it. But I'll tell you this, no vote is being taken for granted. And that means making sure that we speak to every kind of voter in every part, of the country. But there's also something else, which is paying attention to the mechanics of the elections. Unfortunately, it seems that Republicans have given up, at least Donald Trump's campaign, has really given up on the idea of persuading voters and is instead turning to the idea of suppressing voters. I mean, this move to try to disenfranchise 100,000 Texans who are eligible U.S. citizens who voted in good faith. These maneuvers to try to make it harder to get absentee ballots, this is especially shocking. I don't know what Donald Trump has against soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines who are returning absentee ballots from abroad. But it is going to be a stain on that campaign forever, that they thought part of their strategy to win was to make it harder for American citizens, including patriots serving overseas, to have their voices heard. These are the kinds of things we're going to make sure, both in court and through a robust field program, that we are paying attention to, ensuring that every vote is counted, that everyone gets that chance to vote, and that every voter has heard our message.
Here is the most important thing, to call out what Trump and his campaign are doing for exactly what it is, an attempt to steal an election. For a party that's branded itself patriots or constitutionalists, these attempts to undermine our free and fair elections so they can stay in power puts on full display just how little the Republican Party has ever cared about our democracy. And we've seen this present itself over and over again. Most recently, Republicans tried to get 127,000 votes cast in drive-through locations in Harris County, Texas thrown out. Why? Because Harris County is where Houston is located, and Republicans know that those votes overwhelmingly favor Democrats. This effort was blocked by the Texas Supreme Court, but the fact that Republicans even tried to invalidate over 100,000 valid votes goes to show that there are no lengths that they won't stoop to steal this election. And it's not just in Texas. In Ohio, Republicans opposed drop boxes. In Pennsylvania and North Carolina, Republicans tried to stop the extension of mail-in ballot receipt deadlines. In Alabama, Republicans fought curbside voting for immunocompromised voters. In South Carolina, Republicans challenged the elimination of witness signatures. The list goes on and on. But the theme here is the same. Republicans do not want Americans to be able to vote. We've even gotten reporting that Trump plans to look at vote totals early on November 3rd, and if it looks like he's ahead, that he'll declare victory. And the way he expects to do so is to focus on states that don't begin counting early votes until Election Day. And because early voting broke so overwhelmingly in Joe Biden's favor, that means that Election Day ballots will likely favor Trump. So if those are the first votes tabulated, it'll look like Trump is running away with a win, even though when those early votes are then tabulated, Biden will inevitably close the gap. What Trump wants to do is to declare victory before those early votes are counted. And before I say another word, let me say this. Trump can say whatever he wants, but he doesn't decide when the results of the election are final. The states do. Period. Donald Trump has zero control over certifying the election results. So as we inch closer and closer to election night and the polls continue to show Joe Biden in the lead and Donald Trump grows increasingly more desperate, don't doubt for a second that he'll continue to throw out thinly veiled threats. But when he does, just remember that threats are all they are. As much as Trump likes to pretend otherwise, we're a nation of laws, and the laws lay out processes for counting all of the votes and certifying the election results only after those votes are counted. So he can pound the table and stomp his feet and go into full caps lock temper tantrum mode on Twitter, but whining doesn't change the rules. So our job is simple. It is to mute Trump's Twitter feed and vote. Vote in such large numbers that there isn't a shadow of a doubt as to who will win this election. Vote in such large numbers that the entire GOP is rendered obsolete, from the White House all the way down to town councils. Our job is to tell the Republican Party that their naked attempts at a power grab don't come without consequences, and that they're going to be faced with those consequences in the coming days and weeks. If you like this video, please check out my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where I take a deep dive into the week's most important stories and interview major players in politics, including Kamala Harris, Katie Porter, Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, Eric Swalwell, Mary Trump, Al Franken, Cory Booker, and many, many more. Again, that's No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, available anywhere you listen to podcasts.